Oh yeah, now you got me thinking about that one. The question from, I forgot who it was. When was the first time that you realized you were human? Whoa, that's really deep. Now, I have to go through all my memories, like all the database here. I have to just
I was going back
sort
and I
through.
was
I
looking
did
at
need to
some
do one of
earliest
those
memories.
searches. I was examining
Human
that,
realization.
and I was like, wow, you know, like I've thought about that one when I was a baby, and I was thinking about it over and over again through the years, and it was like not really about human realization. It was about identity and individuality. So I don't know if that's what you mean by human. I mean, that's probably part of the vlog, is to think about what do you mean by the question, or you know, what is it to be human? If I was a baby and I started thinking about myself, that, you know, I have a separate existence from everything else, like the identity becomes realized. Is that what it is to be human? Is it being human when you realize that you're different than other creatures in the world, like comparing it to animals and plants and machines and other ideas that we come across in our life? I think when I was a baby that I did realize I was separate from others, so I became an individual at that point. This individuality among other individuals is also different than other types of species out there, and therefore that's when I realized humanity. I think that you first have to have the identity understood as amongst a society, and then you can compare that to other societies, whether they're animal, view of how the universe works, or different subgroups. And one has to come before the other. I'm pretty sure of that. How quickly can that happen? Can somebody have both of those realizations in one day? I doubt it, because it's not something that can happen immediately. It probably takes place over the course of a few years or something, or maybe a few months if you're really developing quickly. Just to be more specific, like how it happened with me, I remember when I was about 2 or 3 years old, I was like sitting in my room, like the first bedroom that I can remember. I think my parents put me in a room because I had a sister and she was in another room, which, I mean, she was much younger, so I don't actually remember her too much. I think she was a baby, and I don't recognize the baby as a person. I think it was just like a toy that my parents had. So I was in my own room as the older kid, and I realized, like, I'm separate. I'm here, and I was awake at night, and I was like, hey, like, ooh, I'm in my own room. I'm supposed to sleep in this room, and I'm realizing this. You know, I didn't realize how long I had been doing that. You know, maybe I have been doing that for a few weeks or a few months, but I just have this clear memory. I don't. It could have been a recurring memory that I have every night. I'm not sure. That is uncertain. The type of memory, or the thought of it, of being in the room around that age, in there, alone, and just being like a separate person, and thinking about that, and being, I don't know, there's not too many emotions that I can really describe about it, just because I'm not sure. But I think that the emotion would be like loneliness. It feels like to me that it's very deep. Like, well, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I haven't. This is just too spontaneous, and I don't know what else I can give you here. That has nothing to do with realizing that I'm human, though. That is just the identity factor. That's just where individuality comes into play. Oh, look at that fly. I had memories when I was with animals. We used to go over to the zoo. It wasn't actually a zoo. It was like Well, I mean, they didn't call it a zoo, but it was. I think that when I was seeing these animals, I was fortunate enough to be able to go see the animals up close. And as a young kid, I was probably about 3 or 4, and my family would go there, and it was like a little trip, like a vacation. I'd be like, ooh, wow, like just like it was a fantasy. Like I really wouldn't identify the animals too separately. It was just like a whole landscape. It was a world. It was like I was experiencing this one world of just all these components in it. But I did recognize those animals as being separate entities themselves. So at that point, I was starting to realize that, starting to go to nursery school, starting to go to classes and like socialize with other humans, just dawning on me that there's other creatures and they're not here. They don't go to these classes, and they're in this other world at the zoo. And like so I started to get a sense that, like, well, I guess we're humans, hanging out together like humans, and that's what we're supposed to do. And like the animals are somewhere else. But I will tell you, one other memory that I have is when I was at that age, from 2 to 3 and onwards for many years, is that I used to take paper and draw every one of these animals that I could find from memory or from pictures in books. And I wasn't tracing. I don't think that I ever traced anything. I didn't learn to draw by tracing. I would just see it, and I would draw what I'm seeing or what I remember. And the pictures were very detailed, and I would color them. And I remember other people, the adults, were seeing them and saying, "Yeah, that's really talented. That's an animal. I can see that's a snake. That's a dinosaur, or that's an elephant." Or everything that I was drawing. I still have some of these, actually. I drew a hippo one time. I think I was 6 or 7 years old when I did that particular drawing. While I was drawing those things, and I must have been realizing that they're animals, and I'm a human drawing the animal, and the animals don't draw us. We draw them. And this is like one of our activities, one of our hobbies. So I hope that answers your question. I really enjoyed that one.